Past year question of IPC. In a in every statute, mens rea is implied unless contrary is shown. This view is expressed in Sheras versus D. Rutgen. It is the maxim, older than the law of England, that no man is guilty unless his mind is guilty. It is absorbed by Lord Ambridge in R versus Alde. Which one of the following cases is not related to mens rea? Barendra Kumar Ghosh versus King Emperor. Which one is related to mens rea? R versus Prince, Queen versus Tolson, Sres versus D. Ritgen. It was held that chief minister or a minister is in the pay of government and therefore public servant within the meaning of section 21 clause 12 of IPC in the case of Karunanidhi versus Union of India. Which one of the following case is related to section 34 of IPC? Barendra Kumar Ghosh versus King Emperor. In which one of the following cases the Privy Council makes the distinction between common intention and similar intention? Mahbub Shah versus King Emperor. In which one of the following case Lord Schumer said they also served who stand and wait? Barendra Kumar Ghosh versus King Emperor. Distinction between section 34 and 149 has authoritative expounded by the Supreme Court in Naik Chand versus State of Punjab. The case of R versus Dudley and Stephenson is related to the defense of necessity. The binding case of section 83 of IPC is Ula versus King. Magnoton case is related to which one of the following section of IPC? Section 84. Which one of the following case lays down the principle relating to defense of unsoundness of mind? Magnoton. Magnoton case. The expression unsoundness of mind has not been defined in IPC and has mainly been treated as equivalent to insanity. An accused who seeks exoneration from liability of any act under section 84 of IPC to prove legal insanity, no medical insanity. It was held by the Supreme Court in the case of Surendra Mishra versus State of Jharkhand. The case of Durhun versus United States is related to insanity. Which one of the following is a leading case of intoxication? Directed Public Prosecutor versus Breed. In which one of the following wild beast test was performed? R versus Arnold. Which one of the following case does not relate to intoxication? R versus Magnoton. In Basudev versus State of Pepsu, the Supreme Court has explained the true scope of the following section of IPC. Section 86. In which one of the following case Supreme Court has observed that there is no right of private defense against right of private defense? State of UP versus Ram Swarup. Which one of the following case is known as the Lametang Road shooting conspiracy case? Emperor versus Veswapam. In which one of the following case is known as Nasik conspiracy case? Vinayak versus Damodar Sevakar case. Ambity and scope of the offence of sedition under section 124 of IPC was considered by 5-judge constitutional bench in the Supreme Court in the case of Kedarnath Singh versus State of Bihar. Which one of the following case decided by federal court on section 124 of IPC? Nihardu Dutt versus Imperial. Principle of vicarious liability was first time decided in the case of R versus Higgins. Which one of the following case is not related to the principle of joint liability based on common intention? Adig versus Govinda. The case of KM Nanavati versus State of Maharashtra is related to grave and sudden provocation. Decision in which one of the following case has been described by Supreme Court to have attained the status of landmark for bringing out the correct test of application under section 300 clause 3 of IPC. Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab. Rex versus Govinda. The point out the distinction between provision of the following section of IPC were explained. 299 and 300. Distinction between section 299 and section 300 of IPC was first elaborated and discussed in the following. R versus Govinda. Which one of the following cases considered locus cascus on section 300 thirdly of the Indian Penal Code? Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab. In which one of the following is a leading case of Justice Vivan Bose distinguished culpable homicide and murder? Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab 1958. State of AP versus R Punya case deal with the distinction which of the following section of IPC? Section 299 and 300. Under which one of the following case first time the Supreme Court of India has reaffirmed the distinction between culpable homicide and murder while adopting the view suggested in Govind case? State of AP versus R Punya. This sentence should be awarded in the rare of rarest case was held in Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab. The case of Gilan Kaur versus State of Punjab is related to attempt to commit suicide. Every doctor is not responsible under section 304A of IPC 1860 for the death of the person due to negligent operation unless intention is culpable. This has been laid down in Jacob Matthew versus State of Punjab 2005. Every doctor is not responsible under section 304 of IPC for the death of person due to negligent in operation unless his intention is culpable. This has been laid down in the case of Jacob Matthew versus State of Punjab. Right to live with human dignity does not include right to terminate natural life was held in Gilan Kaur versus State of Punjab. Section 303 of IPC was struck down unconstitutional by case of Mithu Singh versus State of Punjab. The case of S. Vardhi Rajan versus State related to Section 363 of IPC. Which one of the following cases related to criminal breach of trust under Section 406 of IPC? J.M. Desai versus State of Bombay. Sarla Mugdal, President Kalyani versus Union of India is a case on which one of the following? Bigamy. A Hindu husband converted to Islam marrying again will be guilty of bigamy. It was held by the which of the following section? Sarla Mugdal versus Union of India. Which one of the following pair is correctly matched? Yusuf Abdul Aziz versus State of Bombay adultery. Doctrine of joint liability is invoked in section 34 of IPC is based on the decision of following. Rig versus Krush. Which one of the following is not correctly matched? First one. Which one is correctly matched? KN Mehra versus State of Rajasthan, section 378. Nirhaddu Dutt Majumdar versus Imperial 124 IPC. State of Haryana versus Raja Ram, section 361 IPC. Consider the following case, arrange them in the chronological order. Yusuf Abdullah versus Aziz, State of Bombay. V. Reddy versus Union of India. W. Kalyani versus State through Inspector of Police Joseph Sine versus Union of India. Section 377 of IPC regarding unnatural offence was partially struck down by Supreme Court in the case of Navjot Singh Johar versus Union of India. In which one of the following case Supreme Court has remarked husband is not master of the wife? Joseph Swine versus Union of India. Which one of the following case pretend misuse of section 498 of IPC? Preeti Gupta versus State of Jharkhand. Recently, Supreme Court has interrupted the exception 2 of section 375 of IPC. Sexual intercourse or sexual act by a man with his own wife not below the age of 18 years is not rape. The case is Independent Thought versus Union of India, in which case Honorable Supreme Court has directed to pay minimum compensation rupees 3 lakh per acid victim. Lakshmi versus Union of India. Joseph Sine versus Union of India. Supreme Court declared which section of IPC is ultra virus? Section 497. In which one of the following case 499 and section 500 of IPC has recently declared constitutional by the Supreme Court? Subramaniam Swamy versus Union of India. In which one of the following case Supreme Court held that legal and valid marriage is not necessary ingredient to attract 498A of IPC? Reema Agarwal versus Anupam and other. Name of victim of sexual offence shall not mention. It was held at which one of the following case? S. Ramakrishnan versus State. To which one of the following case Apex Court judgment Abhyanand Misra versus State of Bihar is related? Section 420 and 511 of IPC. Which one of the following case pretend to constitutionality of section 377? Navjot Singh Johar versus Union of India. In which one of the following case a clear difference between common intention and similar intention was distinguished? Muhammad Shah versus Mehboob Shah versus King Emperor. The real abid concern for dignity of human life was decided in the case of Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab. There are two facts of the definition of dishonestly, and it is sufficient to establish the existence of any one of them. There is no requirement of law to establish both. Choose the correct case among the following. Which of the above statement of Supreme Court has been laid down in the ratio? Tulsi Ram versus State of UP. Apex Court has shown how compromise is not free choice of rape survivor but hidden secret of law where justice is reduced to bargain between victim kin, status authority and the accused. Identify the case law. Ravindra versus State of MP. Where directive principle has found statutory expression in do or don't, the court will not adle and allow government to become statutory mockery for protection of environment. The law will relentless to enforce and plea of poor finance will poor alibi. Where people is in misery cry for justice. The above was observed by Municipal Corporation Ratlam versus Veer Chandra by Justice V.K. Krishna Iyer. In the eventuality of grievous hurt became culpable homicide not amounting to murder, the injury will be actually founded. It should itself be such that it may put in the life of injury of the danger decided by the case of Government of Boom versus Abdul Wahid. Law is a social engineering for removing existing imbalance and further progressing, serving the need of the society democratic Batra under the rule of law. This was observed by Justice K. Ramaswamy in Delhi Transport Corporation versus DTC Mazdoor Congress. The Code of Criminal Procedure will contain some general provision to cover ordinary situation. became regard of instrument and combat population 1980 was utilized in which one of the following case? Municipal Council Ratanlal versus Veerchand. Right of private defense of body commences as soon as reasonableness, apprehension, and danger to the body arises. Continue as long as the apprehension continues. This observation was made by Supreme Court in Dev Narayan versus State of UP. In which one of the following case did Supreme Court of India struck down 303 of IPC unconstitutional? Mithu Singh versus State of Punjab. The constitutional validity of section 497 of IPC 1860 has been challenged in which one of the following case? Joseph Shine versus Union of India. In which one of the following case Supreme Court applied the locus parental rule? Milkit Singh versus State of Punjab. A right granted under section 100 of IPC in extent of causing death can exercise against an assault which reasonably cause an apprehension to death will otherwise be consequence of assault. The above rule has been explained by Supreme Court in which one of the following case? Amjad Khan versus State. In which one of the following case Supreme Court held that brutality built in every murder is a case of every murder this sentence is not imposed? Prem Sagar versus Dharamveer. The principle of distinction between similar intention and same intention was laid down in Birendra Kumar Ghosh versus King Emperor. Which case cite mediation in the rape case sane legal permissible? State of MP versus Madan Lal. Which case dealt with the compensation issue of the victim of the crime? Manohar Singh versus State of Rajasthan. In which case section 309 of IPC declared constitutional? Gilan Kaur versus State of Punjab. Although prima facie is a general rule, there must be a mind in factual before there can be crime. It is not inflexible rule, and statute may relate to the subject matter may also be framed as to make act criminal where there has been an intention to break law or otherwise to do wrong or not. This was held in the case of R versus Tolson. In Supreme Court, bench of Justice Deepak Misra and Praful C. Pant observe any kind of liberal approach or through a mediation in regard between rape victim and the accused is thoroughly and completely sane legal permissibility. State of MP versus Madan Lal. In which one of the following case Supreme Court held that offence under the criminal law does not depend upon the gender of the accused? Vasanti Sentley versus State. The last trial to be jury held in the criminal case in India was that of K.M. Nanavati versus State of Maharashtra. Two-judge bench of the Supreme Court in Sher Singh Pratap versus State of Haryana. Prosecution can discharge the initial burden proof to the ingredients section dash of IPC even by preponderance of probability 304B. Match. दया भाई चंगा भाई ठाकर वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात अनसाउंडनेस ऑफ माइंड. Basudev versus State of Pipsu intoxication. Dev Narayan versus State of UP private defense. State of Odisha versus Ram Bahadur Thapa mistake of fact. Thakur Ram versus State of Maharashtra Mathura rape case. State of Nalini Rajiv Gandhi murder case. Birendra Kumar Ghosh versus Imperial postmaster murder case. State of Maharashtra versus Sukhdev Singh, General A.S. Vidya case. K.M. Nanati versus State of Maharashtra, grave and sudden provocation. Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab, murder. Barinder Kumar Ghosh versus Emperor, common intention. Syam Behri versus State of UP, Dokaiti. Attempt. Koppul Venkata Rao versus State of Andhra, means Riya. State of Maharashtra versus George, MH George, insanity. दयाभाई चंगाभाई ठाकरे वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात, कॉमन इंटेंशन. गिरजा शंकर वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ यूपी. डिफेंस ऑफ इंसैनिटी, किंग वर्सेस मैग्नॉटन, कॉमन इंटेंशन. किंग वर्सेस वीरेंद्र कुमार घोष. नेसेसिटी, किंग वर्सेस डॉडले स्टेफेंस, causing death due to grave and sudden provocation. State versus K.M. Nanavati. Bahurao Shankar Lokhande versus State of Maharashtra, bigamy. Gul Muhammad versus Imperial, adultery. Pawan Kumar versus State of Haryana, cruelty. Brendra Kumar Ghosh versus King Emperor, joint liability. Kheher Singh versus State of Delhi, murder. Visakha versus State of Rajasthan, sexual harassment. Roop Dewal Bajaj versus KPS Gill, outrage the modesty of women. Gauri Dattmal versus State of UP, common object. KN Mehra versus State of Rajasthan, section 378. Arun Ramchand versus Suhabgab, Union of India, section 308. State NCLT Delhi versus Navjot Sadhu @Asfan Guru, 120A. Virsa Singh versus State of Punjab, section 300. Mehboob Shah versus King Emperor, common intention. State of Maharashtra versus MS George, means Riya. Directed public prosecutor versus bread intoxication. R versus Dudley Stephens, necessity. Vishwanath versus State of UP, private defense. State of Punjab versus Major Singh, modesty of women. S. Vridharajan versus State of Madras, kidnapping. Amar Singh versus State of Rajasthan, dowry death.